In the world of business analysis, some people have tried to define a specialized corner called competitive intelligence. They say it's not just mining data, especially now that there's so much data on and accessible through the internet, and it's not espionage either. One of the leaders in this field is with us this morning, Leonard Fuld of Fuld Company, based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Last year, Manila-based FINMA bought control of Fuld, which has made Manila its Asian hub. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Fuld.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Okay, how is competitive intelligence different from the kind of data gathering and analysis that I would do?
Well, competitive intelligence is analyzing company information to a very, very specific level, probably to a point where it would not be on a TV station. In other words, it's a rival might be interested in understanding a competitor's capacity or production capability or distribution. If you're a pharmaceutical company, it's how mature are these clinical trials? Is the product really going to come out? And we understand that on an operational level, it's collection of information to the point where you can make a decision. So it's not just reporting a news report, it's giving management insight as to how they might move ahead in the marketplace.
And how do you get that information as compared to how I would get information? A lot of the times I go to the internet and try to find it there. How does someone who is applying competitive intelligence, how does he get information?
Well, certainly we will use the internet and we'll do our Google searches, but a large part of the work we do, I'd say 60–70% of the analysis is based on an intense amount of what we call primary information, going out into the marketplace and speaking to lots of people that are involved with, let's say if it's a competitor, with the competitor, dealing with the marketplace, assembling all those dots of data as if it were an impressionist painting and connecting those dots and coming up with the answer. So it's not one or two pieces of data. Often it may be hundreds of pieces of data that are assembled to come up with this very complex, very detailed picture.
What kind of conditions or situations is this most useful for?
Excuse me?
What kind of conditions or situations is competitive intelligence most useful for?
Oh, let's say you're going to be introducing a new product in the marketplace. How will your competition respond? If a merger is taking place among two competitors, how might they now behave as a new entrant into this market, in effect a new entrant? If there is a regulatory change, how does this change affect the market, your competition, and yourself? So it's very specific, often very tactical in nature. There are times when this intelligence is used strategically, such as when we run war games and they need to understand a year, 2 years, 3 years ahead what their place is in this market, where that market might be taking them, and what their strategy should be. We can even telescope out further and look 10 years ahead or 15 years ahead and saying, what is the game we should be playing in? So intelligence can be dialed up or dialed down, or the way we produce the intelligence can be dialed up or dialed down. It's not just tomorrow's news, it may be next year's news as well.
I found what I read regarding war games very interesting. How would you throw together a war game? How long would it last to try to come with some answers to a specific condition or situation?
A typical war game takes us, we run through it in about 2 days with senior management. It takes approximately 2 months to prepare. There's analysis that's done in advance to prepare information as much as we can know it about the competition. So the secret is not in knowing about the competition in that case, is trying to understand what their next moves are going to be in that market given certain conditions. So the executives play the roles of the different companies, including the home team, the company itself, and they push against each other. The strategic dialogue that takes place, the arguments back and forth, help define, well, wow, now we understand what our weaknesses are, our strengths, the opportunities we could be missing. We now know where we're going to fix our annual plan, what opportunities might exist in this market that we were unaware of before. So a game is very specific. It really reveals to the company both opportunities and weaknesses it has in a very short space of time.
I know you've said that it's very important in competitive intelligence that the top executives are involved. Is it difficult to get them involved in, for example, a two-day exercise like that?
It's very difficult to get executives and tie them up for 2 days. It's got to be a very important affair. Usually it involves many, maybe tens, hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars in revenue. We've done this for pharmaceutical companies whose billion-dollar blockbuster was going off patent. What do they now do given that generics are going to enter? It could be we just worked with a consumer packaged goods company. They're getting beaten up buy private label or house brand products, and they're not sure what to do about gaining or regaining shelf space vis-a-vis the competition or against online retailers such as Amazon. So these are very large issues. When you have a large issue and they realize, the executives do, that there's a lot of money at stake or perhaps even the future of the company, then you can corral them into these 2 very useful days. It's not an everyday event. It may take place once a year, twice a year. Usually it's the result of some enormous market pressure that's been placed upon the company.
How different is it to help an Asian company compared with a U.S. or a Western company, given the differences in culture and relationships and also transparency in this region?
I mean, looking at it from the entire spectrum, the collection of the information in Asia is more challenging than it is probably in the United States. In Asia, often you need face-to-face conversations, particularly in Japan or China, for example, than you would in the United States. So that's the collection end. Everything else is really, frankly, not that different. Culture makes a difference when you are trying to convey the intelligence to your management. If you use the wrong approach, your manager or your executive won't accept the results. So there's a delivery piece that you need to be sensitive to. In the middle, the piece in the middle, the process itself really doesn't change. It's the same process from beginning to end, irrespective of geography.
You're partly Philippine-owned now, and you have your Asian hub is now in Manila. How has the Manila office helped you, both in terms of getting business and also with your work with companies in the region?
Well, the Manila office is going to serve many different roles, and it's wonderful to have them as part of this organization. They are both going to be serving somewhat as a back office to what we're doing in the western part of the world. So we have offices also in London and in, as you said, Cambridge, Massachusetts in the States. So we act as this very global entity serving each other. They can do the research that we may not have time to do over here that can serve us in the western part of the world. They can also reach out to Asian multinationals, for example, that we serve elsewhere around the globe. So if there's a Fortune 100 or a FTSE 100 company out there that has many offices, one branch is not always equally served by the others in their own corporation. So we can serve companies from around the globe, reaching out to them in different parts of Asia, as opposed to trying to reach them from the U.S., which would be a fairly fruitless exercise.
Okay, Mr. Fuld, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
President Barack Obama proposes to